Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. So I have been off for a bit, haven't made a coding video in quite a bit, and that's because I've been trying to learn something new. So this something new is basically React Native. So I'm trying to get into mobile development, so we're gonna kind of be learning this together as we speak. So what I did manage to build was a to-do list, which I know quite rudimentary, quite simple, but I think it's a great way to understand the fundamentals of React Native. And for those of you who don't know, React Native is, well, it's what I'm going to be using to build this. I don't know if I've already said that, but React Native is a way to combine JavaScript and React in order to make mobile web applications. So you can go into more details if you Google React Native, but that's pretty much the gist of it. You're just using JavaScript and React to build a mobile application. So for our mobile application, or the one that I'm going to be showing you how to build, is going to be a simple to-do list, and we're going to be using an iOS simulator. So I'm going to show you how that works in quite a bit. Am I missing anything here? So React Native application, blah blah blah. Nope, not missing anything. So that's what we're going to be building. So on other channels, I've tried to learn how to build React Native applications, but they kind of seem all too robust for a first project or a fundamental project. So I think this kind of bridges the gap between like building a working project, a real life application that takes hours to build, and just this project which could take, you know, minutes to maybe an hour to build. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Now, disclaimer, I'm not going to show you how to deploy it because it's not going to get accepted into the iOS store. I tried, because it has such minimal features. Like, it doesn't really do anything. It's just a to-do list. So it's a simple CRUD application. Even that, like, it's as simple as it gets. So it's not going to be, but as we grow with this channel, I'm going to try and build more mobile applications, and we're going to deploy it together. So we're going to, you know, work on it. So I think, don't get me wrong, we're still going to be working on web development stuff, but I think I'm a little burned out from working on web development things because, you know, I do that on the side as well. So a new challenge is going to be mobile development. Sorry if I sound nasally. I'm getting over a cold. So yeah, with that said, here's the demo right here. So as you guys can see, this is the app. The app is a simple to-do list. When you go ahead and just, you know, type in "this is a test," for example, and you enter it, it just enters "this is a test," and then you can go ahead and enter more things and then just enter it. So as you can see, this is a great this is a great starting fundamental project because it shows you how to work with React Native. It shows you the difference between a div and a view. So rather than saying div, you're going to be using things like view. If you're new to React, this should be a little, if you're new to React Native, and you're picking up React Native as your first like library, it might be less challenging because you don't know anything else, so you're just going straight into it. Or it might be more challenging because of that. But if you're used to React, like you work with React library all the time, this should be like second nature. So you should understand what's going on more. There's just a few slight changes here and there to the syntax. But that's pretty much it. So that's it for the demo. So with all that said, let's jump right into the video. With that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Because of you guys, I'm able to keep doing these videos. Our subscriber rate's going up. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It goes a long way for this channel. With all that said, let's jump right into coding this project up. Alright guys, so to start the project, what we're going to do is we're going to open up our IDE. So this is going to be a new window. And here, before we do so, actually, let's go to new window. And we're going to go to Google, and here we're going to say Expo. So we're going to be using we're going to be using Expo, which is React Native's framework. So it's a framework built on top of React Native. So think of React and Next.js. So we're going to be using Expo, and we're going to say Expo React Native. Awesome. So we're going to come here to Docs, And here it should tell you the quick start. So the quick start command is npx create expo app at latest. We're going to copy that, and we're going to come right to our application here. So our application, we're going to say, let's make this a lot bigger so you guys can see it properly. Appearance, let's zoom in, and appearance, let's zoom in once more. Let's bring this down a bit. Cool. So here we're going to make directory, and we're going to call this to do YouTube. Clear. And now let's cd. So let's clear out of this. So now let's cd into what did we call it? To do YouTube. So cd to do YouTube. Awesome. Now we can paste that command in there, npx create expo app at latest. It's going to say what is your app named. We're going to call it to do, and then it's just going to install. So while this is installing, we're also going to be using NativeWind, because we're going to be making use of Tailwind CSS. So here we're going to have NativeWind, and we're going to go to NativeWind Home, and here it's basically telling you for you to use Tailwind CSS for your mobile app for React Native, you have to use NativeWind. So it says it right here. NativeWind processes your styles during your application's build steps and uses a minimal runtime to selectively apply React styles. Example changes to device orientation, light, dark mode. So it just basically allows you to use Tailwind CSS. So that's pretty much it. We're using NativeWind to help us use CSS, Tailwind CSS on our application. So now, well, how do we install that? We go over to installation, and make sure you're picking Expo SDK 50 plus. We're going to take this, we're going to copy it, and we're going to come right here, and we're going to apply that. Oh, actually, let's close out of that. So let's open this up to do YouTube. Let's take this out. So let's delete this, because we should have been within to do. So now let's open this up. So now let's cd into to do, and now we can paste that in there. So now it's gonna, there we go. So now if we open to do, there we go. Awesome. So now it's installing the dependencies. So now we can come down here, and we're going to be using let's use Expo. It doesn't matter. So we're going to say Expo here. We're going to copy this. So this is installing NativeWind. We're going to come over here. I'm going to paste this in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to take out these versions. So we're going to say we're going to take that out, and we're going to take this version out. Cool. And we're just going to enter that. And as you can see, the second step says run npx tailwind init to create a tailwind config file. So we're going to do just that. We're going to copy this, come over here. We're going to paste that in there, clear out of this. Now within our tailwind config file, we're going to copy this, and we're going to place it in there. So let's head on down here, tailwind config. Let's take this out, save that. Cool. And now we want to create a global CSS file. So we're going to copy this, and within our app. So you know what? Let's do this. So before we even do that, let's come over to, if you go over to my, where should we go? Let's see, scripts. There we go. So if we come over to scripts, you should see reset project.js. Let's just run that really quickly. So npm reset project.js. Let's close out of that. So npm run reset project.js. So what are we missing? Clear. Oh, npm run reset project. So not .js, just reset project. And do you want to move existing files to? No, we don't. We want to delete the whole thing, and then we can clear out of it. So now we're only left with our essential files. We don't have anything pre-installed or anything like that. We just have what we need to carry on. So when we do that, Now we can go and add this global.css. So we can come into app, and within app, we're going to create a new file, and this is going to be global.css, and we're going to paste that in there and close out of it. Cool. Now we want to add the Babel preset. So we want to come down here. So you don't really need to know what these do per se. You just want to know this is how the NativeWind is installed. So here it's going to be babel.config, I believe. Is that what it is? Or babel.js? Babel.config.js. .config.js. And we're just going to paste that in there, close out of that. And then next we want to modify your metro config. So let's copy this. So here we're just going to say npm npx expo configure. So let's do that again. So it should be npx configure expo, and what was the name of that? Metro config.config.js. Oh, so it should be nps expo customize. There we go. Metro config.js. Awesome. So that way we just created this metro.config.js file. So within it, we can take all this out, and then we can just paste that in there. And for our input, because our global CSS is within our app folder, we can bring this up and just say app/globals.css. So we want to keep the input at this route, and then we can close out of it. So let's see, do we need anything else? So we're done with that. Now we want to modify our app.json to use the metro bundler. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to go right into our app.json. So it's going to be right here. So let's come right after Android, and right after Android before web. We're going to come down here, paste this in here. We're going to take this out, and we're going to take this out. Now we're just going to have a comma right there. Cool. So this is what it looks like. And then we can just go ahead and close out of that. Cool. So what else? So now for TypeScript guide, let's do this. So here, we're going to copy this, and we're going to create a new NativeWind env.ts. So let's bring this down a bit so we can see what we're going to create. So new file, and this file is going to be nativewind./env.d.ts. And even though you're not using Tailwind, I'm not going to be using it. We still have to put this in just because the file is .ts. So we got to do that. And that's practically it. So we can go ahead and just close out of this. And then if you come back to the Expo documentation, if you go to set up your environment, now it says where would you like to develop. We're going to be using an iOS simulator basically, but we don't have to do all this. If you want to use your cell phone, you can say iOS device and then Expo Go, and then you can scan this barcode and use your cell phone. But I'm going to be using the simulator, so I'm just going to close out of this. Close out of this as well, and let's bring this back up here. Cool. So we're done with that. Now, like I said, I'm going to be using a simulator. So the way mine works is I'm going to open up Xcode here, and for you to use the simulator like I'm going to be using, you need to make sure your Xcode is version 16.2, not 16.3. 16.3 has a bug that doesn't allow it to work with Expo properly. So you need to make sure you downgrade either to 16.2, or you just simply install the 16.2. If you Google how to get the 16.2 version, it should tell you how to do that. So it should be like Apple's development something. That's where you get it from. I can't really remember, but if you Google it, you should find it. So this is the 16. If you Google it, you should find a way to authentically get it from Apple's platform. That's what I mean. So just don't go download any bootleg Xcode onto your computer. When you Google it, you're gonna see ways to go onto Apple's platform, and then on Apple's platform there are multiple versions of it, and you can get the 16.2 version. So when you do that, you want to come over to settings, and here you want to go to components, and for components I have iOS 18.2 and iOS 18.3.1 simulator, and those are already installed on my computer. And then I have the watch as well, but we're not going to be using that simulator, so it doesn't matter. And then there's some other components such as predictive code completion and all this, device support for iPhone 16e, iPad Air, things like that. So those were also installed. That's pretty much it. And then for general, is it general or accounts? No, it can be accounts. Location. Oh yeah, so that was on components. So this is going to be location. And for location, we're going to be using command line tools of Xcode 16.2. Remember I said it was going to be 16.2, and that's pretty much it. So we close out of that. So now that we have all that, let's see if our simulator is going to work. So we're already in to do, so we're going to say npx expo start. So this is how we start our development server. So I have something running on. Yeah, that's fine. So we're going to use 8082 instead. Yes. And it's going to open there. Now we want to use an iOS simulator. So we're just going to press I, and it's going to open on iOS. So it should open now. So it's going to open it. There we go. So it's going to open on iPhone 16 Pro Max. So just give it a second while there we go. So now it's going to open. So that's the Expo application there. So let's do this. Awesome. So as you can see, it's building this bundle. Nothing's really going to show except our boilerplate code, which comes default. There we go. And this just says edit app index tsx. So if we come over to index, that's what is here. So that's all that is. So if we change this to hello world, so hello world, and we save it, there we go. That's all we get. So that's practically it. So what we want to do is within app, we're going to create a new folder, and this folder is going to be called screens. So it's pretty much like pages in React or in Next.js. It's like a different route, a different screen. So here we're going to say this screen is going to be our to-do screen .jsx, or we just say .js. It's fine. And we have we can say rnfe. Awesome. And we can save that. So rnfe is basically the shortcut to create arrow functions like this within our application. So in Next.js, it's rafce, I believe. So here we can now come into our index, and here we're just going to return. So let's take all this out, so we don't need this. For view, we're not even going to use view, so we can just take all this out. It's fine. So what we want to do first is we're going to say safe area view. So let's see. So let's see if we can import that. Import safe area view from React Native safe area context. There we go. So that should have been installed with Tailwind. So here we're going to say class name is going to be flex1. So what safe area view does is basically it makes sure the content isn't within like the 1027 or this Wi-Fi. So it just makes sure it's within. It's not overlapping these these icons here. So here we can go ahead and now say to do screen. To do screen. So we're gonna have to import that manually as well. Import to do screen from screens to do screen. There we go. As you can see, we have to do screen here. It's not all the way up here. So there's a safe area view around it. That's what this is basically stating. So within to do screen, actually, we don't want this index to show. We don't really want this word index to be there. So we're gonna come over to our layout here, and within our stack, within our return, we're just gonna do this. So this. Okay. Awesome. So that's better. So for stack, we're gonna say stack screen options, and this is gonna equal, and here we're gonna say header options. So header shown, sorry, header shown is gonna be false because we don't want to see that header. There you go. As you can see now, to do screen is all the way up here. So we took away that header. Great. So now we can actually focus on writing our code. So by default, we have import view tags from React Native. Now we have import React. So from React, so what we want to do is we're going to say import React. We're also going to import use effect as well as use state. Cool. So just a quick overview on what's going on here. So view, we're importing view, and view is basically it works like how div containers work in web React. So in React for the web we use div, but for mobile or for native it's going to be view. Text is used for displaying text, so it's similar to a p tag or a span tag. That's pretty much all it does. And then we're also going to have text input. So text input. And text input is basically an input field for text. So it's just akin to what input is on React Web. So in React Web, when we want to create an input text, we just say input. However, for native, we say text input. And then we're going to have one more called touch opacity. So touch opacity, touchable opacity. Okay, so there we go, touchable opacity. And basically what that does is it allows the device to detect taps. So like rather than having a button that you click on, this you tap on, so you want touchable opacity. So that's what this does. And then we have flat list, and this is akin to like map. So it renders a list of data. So you can think of it as its own, well, similar to map, not necessarily the same, I'll say, but very similar. And that's it. So we'll all get that from React Native. Let's do this. Awesome. And then we're gonna state, so before we actually do this, let's come down here and let's create a utils. It's actually gonna be a folder. So let's create a utils folder. Awesome. And within that utils folder, we're gonna have something called storage. So new file, and this is gonna be storage .js. Cool. So the first thing you want to do here is, let's open up another terminal here, cd in here. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to install this. So we're going to say npm install at React Native async storage /async storage. And what this does is it's an asynchronous key value storage system that's built into React Native. So it allows you to keep data between app launches. So all it basically does is, in simple terms, is it allows you to store things in key value pairs within the React Native application. So think of it like local storage. Once you do that, you can clear out of it. And remember we said, let's close out of this one. So remember we said it's like a key value pair. So what we want to do is we want to define the storage key. So here we're going to say const to-dos key is equal to, we're just going to call it my local to-dos. Awesome. Here it's just the to-do key is just holding the string my local to-dos, and we're going to use this key to store and retrieve the to-do list from asynchronous storage. So using a constant like to-do key helps basically reduce the risk of typos. So my local to-dos key is pretty easy to to write down. So we're going to do that, and now we want to load. So now we want to import. So let's come up here. We're going to import that async storage from at React Native async storage. There we go. Let's do this. Cool. So now we want to be able to load our to-dos from async storage. So if we have nothing within our async storage, there's nothing to load, then we're going to just return an empty array. So we're going to say export async function load to-dos. And here we're going to say try catch. And the reason why this is great is because we don't have to use a backend database in order to store our stuff. So we can just use the storage system within our application, within our device. So here we're going to say const stored is equal to await async. So remember it's asynchronous, so you got to use await get items, and this is going to be to-dos key. There we go. So here we're just retrieving the data stored under the key my local to-dos. So that's all we're doing here. And then after doing so, we're gonna say if stored, then return json.parse stored. Cool. So here we're checking if any data is stored. If any data stored was returned. So if we had any data which was stored was returned. If the data exists, then it's probably going to be in JSON string format. So the function json.parse stored converts that JSON string back into JavaScript object. So rather than stringifying it, it's going to turn it back into a JavaScript object. It's then going to return it. So if not, we're going to then return an empty array. So return empty array. So if we have nothing stored, we're returning an empty array. And then for catch error, we're going to say console.log error loaded to-dos. And it's going to state the error. Cool. So now we want to be able to save the array of to-dos. So we're going to say export async function, and this is going to be save to-dos, and here we're going to say try catch, and for try we're going to say const JSON value is going to be JSON, and here we're going to use stringify to-dos, and we're going to await async storage set item. So here we're going to set the item, and this is going to be to-dos key. So that's going to be the key, and this is going to be the value, JSON value. Cool. And for error, we're just going to say console.log error saving to-dos. And this is going to be error. Awesome. And just like that, we're done with the storage. So now if we come back to screen, we're able to come down here, and we're going to say import. This is going to be load to-dos, and we're gonna have save to-dos, and this is gonna be from utils. So utils, there we go, /storage. Great. So let's do that. Awesome. So you know what? I don't want to use this format. So great. So now we can say export default function, and this is going to be to-do screen. And here we're going to have const to-dos. So this is going to be our state variable set to-dos. And this is going to hold our to-dos. So use state. And this is going to hold our text for to-do. So we're going to say new text, and set new text is equal to use state. Cool. Now we want to have our states for editing. So here we're going to say const editing tool ID, set editing tool ID. Oh, well, not tool ID, to do ID, set editing to do ID is equal to use state, and initially it's going to be null, and then const editing text and set editing text, and this is going to be equal to use state. This is going to be a string, empty string. Great. Now we want to load any existing tool from a sync storage. So anytime our application mounts, or our system mounts, application basically mounts, we want to load anything that's within our async storage. So we want to load all the data from our async storage, meaning we want to load all our to-do list from the async storage on application load, or on asynchronous storage mounts, or on when our asynchronous storage. Let me repeat that. So we want to load any existing to-dos from async storage when our application mounts. So here we're going to say use effect. We're going to say async, and here it's going to be const loaded is equal to await load to-dos, and we're going to say set load set to-dos, and this is going to be loaded. Cool. And this is going to be dependent on an empty array. So it's empty dependency array. Now we want to write a function for our new to-do. So we're going to say const add to-do async, and we're going to have const text is equal to new text dot trim. So we want all that white space gone, and we're going to say if we don't have any text, return nothing. Awesome. And now we want to create an object for it. So we're going to say const new to do item. We're going to give it an ID, and it's just an arbitrary ID of date now. So it's just going to be the date to string. We're going to say text. So we're going to pass in the text, and we're going to say completed. Completed is going to be false. Cool. Now we're going to say const updated is equal to, we're going to do this to-dos. So we're going to split. So we're going to say to-dos, then we're going to say new to-do item. So we're going to use the spread operator for to-dos, and we're going to add new to-do item. So we're going to have whatever to-dos already has. So let's say we had a to-do item of brush your teeth. Now we're going to add a new to-do item to that list. That's what this is stating. Now we're going to say set to-dos to updated. And we're going to say await save to-dos. It's going to be updated. Cool. And you want to go ahead and set new text to an empty string. Awesome. Now you want to be able to toggle between the completed status. So you want to say const toggle to do async item ID. So you're going to take the item ID for that to do item, and we're going to say const updated is equal to todos.map. We want to get over to do, and now we're going to state return, well, if todo.id is equal to item ID, then we want to return spread operator to do completed to do not completed, so it's not completed. And then we want to say return to do. Set to dos is going to be updated, and we're going to say await save to dos updated. Cool. So now we want to be able to delete a to do item. So we're going to say const delete to do is equal to async. We're going to take in that item ID. We're going to say const updated is equal to todos.filter. I'm going to filter through the to-dos, and we're going to say todo.id does not equal item ID. We're going to set to-dos, and this is going to be updated. And we're going to say await save to-dos, and this is going to be updated. Cool. Now we want to be able to edit a to-do item. So we're going to say const start editing to do, and here we're going to say set editing tool, well, set editing to do.id, set editing text to do.text, and just like that. So now we want to be able to update a to do item with a new text. So we're going to say const, and here we're going to say update to do async awesome const updated is going to be equal to dos.map. Going to take in to do.id is equal to editing to do ID. So if we have editing to do ID, then we want spread operator to do text editing text, else it's going to be the same old to do. There we go. So here, if to do item is equal to editing to do ID, then we want the spread operator, and we want to change the text to the editing text. Else, we want it to stay to remain as the to do. So now we want to be able to set it. So we're gonna say set to dos to updated. We're gonna say await save to dos, and this is going to be updated. We're going to set editing text to an empty string. We're going to set editing to do to null. So we're back to null. Awesome. And when we want to cancel the editing, so if we want to cancel our editing, we're going to say const cancel editing, and this is going to be an arrow function. And we're going to say set editing text to empty string, and set editing to do ID to null. Cool. Now we want to be able to render our to-do item. So we're going to say const render item is equal to, we're going to take an item and we're going to state view, which is, like I said, it's basically div. So class name here is going to be background white, rounded is going to be large, padding X of 4, padding Y of 2, margin bottom of 2, shadow is going to be small, flex row, items center, justify between. Cool. And here we're going to say editing to do ID is equal to item ID. Then we're going to say if the item is in edit mode, then we're going to show this text input and save cancel buttons. So we're going to say view style is going to be flex 1. So we're still missing, there we go. Okay, so now we're gonna say text input is gonna be value editing text. So let's put it within this editing text. There we go. We're gonna say unchanged text is gonna be set ID text, set editing text. Class name is gonna be border gray 300, rounded is gonna be large, padding X of 3, padding Y of 2, flex of 1. Great. And now we're going to have another view. And here we're going to say view style is equal to flex direction. And this is going to be row. We're going to say margin is going to be top of 5. Touchable opacity is going to be on press, update to do. Class name here is going to be background green of 500, rounded, padding X of 3, padding Y of 1, margin right of 2. Awesome. Now our text is going to be class name, text white, and it's going to be save. Yeah, so we're going to get that error because this is a if else, and we don't have, it's not closed out yet. So what else? So, oh yeah, so what was I doing? So here we have this. Now we're going to have another touchable opacity. So we're just going to bring this down 1. And here it's going to be on press here is going to be cancel editing. Cool. And then class name is going to be pretty much the same thing, except it's going to be background gray of 50. Awesome. Background gray of 50, rounded. We're going to have padding X of 3 and padding Y of 1. We don't need a margin right. Cool. And then the text here is going to be text white, and this is going to be cancel, since it's going to be cancel editing. Cool. And that's it. So now we have view. We should have one more view actually. There we go. And now we can have our else. And here we're just going to say this for right now. Cool. Here we're going to have touchable opacity. On press is going to be arrow function. And this should be toggle to do item.id. Style, this is going to be equal to flex. And this is going to be 1. Cool. And now we can have text. Class name is going to be item.completed. If item is completed, then we want text base, line through, text gray 400. Else, text base, text gray 800. Cool. Let's see, 800. Cool. And we can have text there. Now this is just going to be item.text. Cool. Awesome. So let's see, do we have any? Let's refresh this. Let's reload this app. So let's see, where is this error coming from? Okay, so we have an error somewhere. Okay, let's keep going and then we'll figure it out later. And then view. Okay, so now we want to return view touchable to view. Okay, so I see. All right, so we didn't even finish this. So touchable opacity, then we have another touchable opacity. Here it's going to be on press. So let's just do this. So this is why I thought we did it already. So we didn't bring it down 1. Okay, so we're going to take touchable opacity, bring it down 1 again. And then on press here is going to be start editing item. Start editing, and then it's just going to be item. Awesome. Class name is going to be background yellow of 500. Rounded. Padding X of 3, padding Y of 1, margin right of 2. And then text here is just going to be edit. So text, well, class name is going to be text white. So it's just my class name, text white. This is just going to be edit. Cool. And then we have another touchable opacity. And here on press is going to be for delete. So delete to do. It's going to be item.id because you got to pass in that item ID. Background should be red, 500. Rounded, padding X of 3, padding Y of 1. Text is going to be class name, text white, and this should be delete. Cool. And then we have view. Okay. So why is this that way? So this should be in parentheses, and this should be in parentheses. Awesome. Okay. So now we want to return and we're going to state view. So remember, view is basically like our div. It's going to be flex 1, background gray, 50. Padding X is going to be 4. Padding Y is going to be 6. Cool. And here we're going to have text. Class name is going to be text 3XL. We're going to say font is going to be bold. Text is going to be gray 800. Margin bottom is going to be 2. And here we're just going to say my text. There we go. And there it is. And then we're going to have another one. So let's bring this down one. And here it's just going to be class name of text gray 500. And it's going to be margin bottom of 4. And here we're just going to say keep track of your to-dos. There we go. So 3XL, background gray 50, 3XL, font bold, text gray 800, margin bottom of 2. This should be text gray 500, margin bottom of 4. Okay. And then view, we're going to have another. Here, we're going to have another view. So let's do this. View. Here, we're going to have class name, and it's going to be flex row, items, center, margin bottom of 5. And we're going to say text input. And this is going to be class name, flex 1, border gray, 300, rounded, large, margin right of 2. We're going to have pattern X of 3, pattern Y of 2, text gray of 700. Placeholder here is going to be enter a new to-do item. Placeholder text color is going to be pretty much gray, so it's going to say hash AOAECO. There we go. Value is going to be new text. Unchanged text is going to be set new text. There we go. So that should, well, we'll fix that later. And then we should have touchable opacity. And here it should be on press, and it should be add to do. Class name here is going to be background blue, 600, rounded is going to be large, pattern X of 4, pattern Y of 3, and we're going to have text is going to be class name, text white, font is going to be semi bold, add. There we go. Touchable opacity, view, and then we're going to have flat list. Data is going to be to do. well, to-dos. Key extractor is going to be item, and then it's going to be item.id. Render item is going to be item. Wait, render item is going to be render item. Cool. Okay, let's see. Awesome. Now we just have to work with our classes. So there's something wrong. So flex 1, background gray of 50, pen X of 4, pen Y of 6. Then we have class name, text 3XL, font bold, text gray 800, margin bottom of 2, my tags text. So before we actually tackle the styling, let's come back up here. I believe I made some errors from looking at it over. So here we have use effect. So we need to invoke our functions immediately. So here we have a sync. Let's do it this way. So we have a sync. So it should be this. And then blah, blah, blah. Let's see. And then we want to do this. Cool. Awesome. To do, that's pretty fine. Let's see, new text here. So here should be an empty string. Awesome. Okay, so from what I realized, that's all I saw we did wrong. TSX. Okay, let's see something really quickly. Package do we have? Yeah, we have native. Tailwind CSS. We do have NativeWind. Okay, so it did install. So let's see, what is the problem with our so that's fine. Tailwind. Oh, I know why. So within our app layout, index.css, I mean index.tsx. This is fine. So let's go back to layout. So in layout, we should also import global CSS. There we go. So that's all we have to do. So within layout, we just have to import global CSS, and then we're done. And there we go. So this is what it looks like. So now let's see if it works. This is a test. So let's go ahead and use exclamation add. Ooh. Okay, so there's an error somewhere. It's not adding. Async storage.default.get items is not a function. So we probably wrote something wrong here. So that's to say, let's see, get items. That's where we got our error. So this should be get item. So let's try it now. So add, there we go. So if we finish it, we just click on it. So this is done. It's not done. It's done. It's not done. We can edit it. This is a test. Yes, it is. Save. It's done. It's not done. It's done. It's not done. It's done. It's not done. So that's pretty much it. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm also learning how to do this as we go along. So just bear with me as we walk through this together. My next goal is to, conquer. My next goal is to conquer mobile development. So I think we're pretty far along when it comes to web development. So let's try our hand at mobile development. So depending on how you guys like this video or interact with it, that lets me know if you guys want to keep seeing videos like this. I feel like it's a pretty easy beginner project, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section. With all that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you are enjoying this. And with all that said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.